I never thought I'd smile while picturing my sister's neck snapping under the weight of her own lies. But there I was, fork midway to my mouth, gravy dripping like slow tears onto my plate, as Mom's words hung in the air like smoke from a fresh kill. Willow, honey, your sister's always been the provider, the one who kept us afloat. Isn't that right, Elena? And I said, perfect, my voice steady as a loaded chamber, because tonight, after all these years of swallowing her poison, I was finally ready to spit it back. It started 15 years ago in that godforsaken strip mall outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the summer heat baked the asphalt into black glass and dreams went to die under fluorescent bus. I was 12, Elena was 16, and our family was already cracking like the dry earth after a drought. Dad had bailed 2 years prior, chasing some cocktail waitress to Vegas with the last of his paycheck and a half-assed apology scrawled on a gas station napkin. Mom worked doubles at the diner, her hands raw from scrubbing grease off plates that nobody tipped enough for. Elena, the golden girl, the straight-A student with the cheerleader smile, she was supposed to be our ticket out, the one who'd make it big, lift us all. But Elena had secrets, the kind that fester like untreated wounds. I found out on a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary day that tricks you into thinking life's got no teeth. I'd snuck into her room after school, hunting for that new CD she'd borrowed from me, the one with the angsty indie tracks that made me feel less like a ghost in my own house. Her diary was tucked under the mattress, leather-bound and locked, but I was small then, fingers nimble from picking at Mom's old sewing kit. The key was in her sock drawer, hidden like it was nothing. Pages of scribbled confessions spilled out, the shoplifting sprees at the mall, the pills swiped from the pharmacy counter where she interned after cheer practice, the forged checks from Dad's forgotten account that she'd drained dry. But the gut punch? The real betrayal that carved me hollow? It was the entry about the fire. Not just any fire. The one at Mr. Hargrove's auto shop, the old man who'd given Elena her first job pumping gas. She'd torched it for the insurance payout, a prank gone wrong she'd planned to blame on rival cheerleaders, but it spiraled. Hargrove lost everything. His livelihood, his health from the smoke he inhaled pulling kids out of the path. Elena wrote how she'd sobbed in the bathroom afterward, not from guilt, but fear of getting caught. I did it for us, she penned, for the family. Willow will understand someday. I didn't, but I covered for her. God help me, I did. When the cops came sniffing, badges gleaming under the porch light, I was the one who stammered out the lie. I saw those girls from Westfield lurking around, lighting firecrackers. Elena was with me the whole time. My voice cracked like a whip, but they bought it because I was the baby sister, the innocent one with pigtails and freckles. Elena watched from the stairs, her eyes wide as saucers, and later, in the dark of our shared room, she whispered, "You're my hero, Will. I owe you everything." She hugged me then, her perfume, stolen, of course, cloying sweet, and I believed her. 12-year-old me thought blood was thicker than the ash still settling on the news. Fast forward a decade, and we're in Austin now. Texas Hill Country bleeding into the city sprawl, where the live oaks twist like arthritic fingers and the tech boom chews up old ranches for condos. I'd clawed my way through community college on scholarships and night shifts at a coffee shop that smelled eternally of burnt beans, emerging with a graphic design degree and a portfolio fat with freelance gigs. Elena? She'd bloomed into Elena the Magnificent, a marketing exec at some flashy startup, the kind with ping-pong tables and kombucha on tap, pulling 6 figures and dating venture capitalists who looked like they stepped out of a J.Crew catalog. Mom idolized her, of course. Elena's the provider. She'd coo over Sunday brunches at that overpriced bistro in South Congress, where the avocado toast cost more than my weekly grocery run. I'd nod, smile, swallow the bile, because what else could I do? Call out the fraud in front of the mimosas? But the cracks were showing. Elena's success was built on more than charm and PowerPoints. I'd caught whispers at industry mixers, friends of friends muttering about insider trading, about how her last promotion came after the CFO mysteriously resigned amid creative accounting. And then there was Jake. God, Jake. My Jake, or so I'd thought. We'd met at a rooftop bar during South by Southwest, him with his easy laugh and tattooed forearms, a software engineer who quoted Vonnegut and made me feel seen, not invisible. 6 months in, and I was head over heels, planning weekends in Marfa, dreaming of a life that wasn't just survival. Elena met him at one of her networking events, a gallery opening she dragged me to, where the air was thick with weed, smoke, and pretension. She texted me the next day, "Your guy's hot. You hit the jackpot, sis." But her eyes, when she looked at him across the room that night, they lingered too long, like a predator sizing up a mark. I ignored it, chalked it up to sisterly enthusiasm. Until the night I came home early from a client pitch, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder, and found them on my couch, in my apartment. Her legs wrapped around his waist, his hands in her hair, the sounds they made twisting like barbed wire in my gut. I didn't scream, didn't throw things. I just stood there in the doorway, the door clicking shut behind me like a guillotine falling. "Willow," Jake gasped, scrambling up, his face flushing the color of cheap Merlot. Elena didn't even flinch. She smoothed her skirt, fixed her lipstick in the reflection of my coffee table. "It's not what it looks," she started, but I cut her off with a laugh, sharp and foreign in my throat. "Save it, both of you." I walked past them to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water from the tap, because I couldn't afford filtered, and when I turned back, Elena was on her feet, reaching for me. "Sis, please. It was a mistake. Jake and we connected at that event. He said you were too intense." Intense. The word landed like a slap. Me, with my late nights sketching logos for startups that would fold in a year, my walls papered with rejection emails framed as learning experiences. Her, with her effortless poise and Rolodex of connections. Jake slunk out eventually, mumbling apologies, and Elena stayed, spinning her web of half-truths. How I'd been distant, how our lives had diverged, how this could bring us closer if I just forgave. Family first, right? Like always. I let her think I did. Nodded, hugged her back, even helped her move into the sleek loft downtown that Jake's guilt money paid for. But inside, I was a furnace stoked slow, coals glowing under the grate. The fire she'd started all those years ago, it had never gone out in me. It just waited. Months blurred into a haze of forced civility. Mom's health took a dive, diabetes flaring from years of diner pie and stress. And suddenly Elena was the hero again, footing the bills for her home health aide, the specialist visits in Houston. "See? Provider," Mom would say, her voice frail over the phone, while I wired what I could from my dwindling savings, scraping by on ramen and resentment. Elena threw me pity invites. "Come to the gala, Will. Network a little." I'd go, in thrift store dresses that itched, watching her glide through the crowd like she owned the oxygen, Jake on her arm now, his eyes avoiding mine like I was a glitch in the Matrix. But I was watching, always watching. Turns out, Elena's empire had termites. A tip from an old college buddy who'd landed at the SEC. Anonymous, of course, landed in my inbox one rainy afternoon. Screenshots of emails, falsified reports, Elena's digital fingerprints all over a Ponzi scheme dressed up as innovative fintech. She'd been siphoning investor funds, laundering them through shell companies, using Mom's medical bills as cover for charitable deductions. The fire in Tulsa? That insurance scam had been her first taste, but now it was big leagues. Millions at stake, retirees ruined, a trail that led straight back to her corner office. I could have forwarded it all to the feds right then. One click, and poof, her glass castle shatters. But where's the poetry in that? No, this needed teeth, needed her to feel the burn she'd lit in me. So I started small. Anonymous posts on Glassdoor, seeding doubt. Toxicity at Apex Ventures. Execs cooking books while entry-levels starve. Then deeper, hacking her socials, a skill picked up from freelance cybersecurity gigs. Ironic, huh? Planting just enough inconsistencies to make her paranoid. She'd call me at 2 a.m., voice slurred from Pinot. "Will, someone's after me. You hear anything?" I'd murmur sympathies, suggest therapy, all while forwarding her therapy bills to Jake for support. The real fun began when I reached out to Hargrove. The old man was a husk now, living in a single-wide trailer on the outskirts of Tulsa, oxygen tank hissing like a faithful dog. I drove up one weekend, the interstate a ribbon of regret under tires that hummed too loud. He remembered me, vaguely, as that nice little girl who lied for her sister. No anger, just sorrow etched deep as canyons. I told him everything, laid it bare over lukewarm coffee at his kitchen formica. "She took from you," I said, "and from me. What if we took it back?" He didn't hesitate. Gave me the names, the investigators he'd hired back then. The ones who'd buried the report after Elena's tearful confession to them privately, bribed with a chunk of the payout, no doubt. Those files. Gold. Forged alibis, witness tampering, the works. I digitized them, anonymized just enough, and started the drip. Leaks to financial blogs, whispers to Elena's board. Her stock plummeted, clients bolted. Jake left her. Poetic, right? For a yoga instructor half his age, citing irreconcilable trust issues. Elena spiraled, showing up at my door with mascara rivers, begging for a loan. Your family will. Help me. I let her in. Fed her soup from a can. Listened to her sob about betrayal, about how the world was unfair. And in those moments, staring at her blotchy face, I almost pitied her. Almost. But then I'd remember the smoke in Hargrove's lungs, the way Jake's laugh used to light my days, the diary pages I'd burned in a backyard fire pit years ago, their ashes scattering like betrayed confetti. We'll get through this, I'd say, handing her a tissue. Sisters forever. The dinner invitation came like a trap snapping shut. Mom's 60th, a milestone she wanted intimate, just us three, at the house in Austin she'd bought with Elena's generosity. I arrived early, helping set the table with the good china we'd inherited from Grandma, the linens starched stiff. Elena swept in late, Jake's absence a ghost in her too bright smile, bearing a bottle of Cabernet that cost more than my rent. Mom was all hugs and tears, toasting to my girls, my rocks. And then it came, midway through the roast, as the candles flickered shadows on the walls. You know, Willow, I've been thinking. Elena's always been the provider, the one who's carried us. Without her, we'd be lost. Mom's eyes shone with that blind devotion, the kind that ignores the rot beneath the shine. Elena preened, fork twirling a carrot like a scepter. Jake wasn't there to contradict, no one to whisper the truths I'd unearthed. I set down my knife, slow, deliberate, and met Elena's gaze across the linen battlefield. Her eyes, so like mine but sharper, held a flicker of triumph. She'd won again, or so she thought. The room hummed with the fridge's distant buzz, the tick of the grandfather clock Dad had left behind. Mom waited, expectant, for my nod of agreement. Perfect, I said, the word blooming like a bruise. And in that instant, the air thickened, charged as a storm front rolling in from the Gulf. Elena's smile faltered, just a hair, but I saw it, the crack in her armor. Because she knew, deep down, in the marrow where secrets hide, she knew this wasn't agreement. It was ignition. What happened next? That's the part where lines blur, where right and wrong tangle like kudzu on a chain-link fence. I didn't poison the wine, don't get me wrong. The thought crossed my mind, fleeting as a bad dream. No, my revenge was subtler, a scalpel where she'd used a sledgehammer. As dessert plates clinked, Mom's famous pecan pie, sticky sweet and oblivious. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, the one etched with every lie she'd ever told. Mom, I said, voice soft as gospel, there's something you need to see. About Elena. About all of us. The pie sat untouched as I plugged it into Mom's ancient laptop, the screen glowing blue in the dim room like a confessional. Files unfolded. The diary scans I'd kept hidden all these years, Hargrove's investigator reports, the SEC leaks with Elena's emails highlighted in damning red. Mom's face drained of color, her hand fluttering to her chest like a trapped bird. Elena? Baby, is this? Elena lunged for the laptop, but I was faster, slamming it shut with a crack that echoed like gunfire. It's true, Mom. The fire, the money, Jake, everything. She burned it all down and let me carry the ashes. My words were steady, but inside, the furnace roared. This wasn't just exposure. It was excavation, dragging the buried sins into the light where they could choke her. She turned on me then, Elena did, flipping like a switchblade in a back alley brawl. You jealous little bitch, she hissed, low enough that Mom might miss it, but I heard the venom drip. You think this makes you better? You lied for me back then because you wanted to be me. Needed to be the hero for once. Her eyes blazed, that schemer's glint, calculating angles even now. She appealed to Mom next, voice breaking artfully. She's fabricating this, Mom. Always has hated me for succeeding. Remember how she stole my spot on the cheer squad? Lied about trying out. It was a low blow, twisting history like taffy, and damn if it didn't land. Mom wavered, her gaze darting between us, the pie forgotten, crumbs scattering like accusations. Girls, please, we're family. But family? That's the lie we'd all swallowed, the one that bound us tighter than chains. I could have stopped there, let the truth simmer, watch her crumble slow. But the hook was set, and I reeled. Call Hargrove, I said to Mom. Ask him yourself. My phone was already dialing, speaker on, the old man's rasp filling the room like smoke from that long-ago blaze. That your girl, Willow? The one who torched my life? His words wheezed out, raw and real, and Elena deflated, her shoulders slumping as the fight bled from her. She didn't beg. Not Elena. Instead, she straightened, that mummer's mask slipping back into place. Fine. You win this round, Will. But blood's thicker, remember? You destroy me. You destroy us all. It was her ace, the emotional blackmail she'd wielded since we were kids, the guilt trip that kept me silent for years. Mom was crying now, sobs muffled in her napkin, the weight of it crushing her fragile frame. I stood, chair scraping back like a challenge. No more, Elena. No more carrying your sins. And as I walked out into the rain-slick night, thunder rumbling low over the hills, I felt the first real freedom in years. But victory? That's a slippery word, especially when the ones you love are collateral. The fallout hit like a Texas twister, uprooting everything in its path. By morning, the story was viral. Leakside time to hit the Austin American-Statesman just as Mom's breakdown made the ER rounds. Tech exec's empire built on family lies. Arson cover-up exposed. Elena's face was everywhere, that poised headshot now a mugshot in waiting. The feds swooped in by noon, cuffing her at the office in front of her gasping interns, her board scattering like roaches under a flipped fridge. Mom called me from the hospital, voice hollow. Why, Willow? Why now? Because it was time, I wanted to scream. Because the provider was a parasite, sucking us dry while waving the flag of savior. But I drove to her bedside instead, held her hand as the morphine dripped, and whispered apologies that tasted like ash. Elena's trial was a circus, tabloids dubbing it Sister Sin, cable news panels debating if I was avenging angel or vengeful viper. Hargrove testified, his oxygen mask fogging with every labored breath, painting Elena as the devil in designer heels. She flipped again on the stand, tears streaming. Willow pushed me into it. She knew about the fire, encouraged me. Jealousy twisted her. The courtroom gasped, and for a split second, I saw the doubt ripple through the jury. Had I? In my darkest hours, nursing grudges like cheap whiskey, had I whispered encouragements in her ear? No, but the seed was there, the what-ifs that make monsters of us all. Jake showed up, slimy as ever, offering support, testimony that painted me as unstable, the scorned lover with a grudge. She hacked my emails, he lied, and the judge banged his gavel. But the damage stuck, tar on my name. Through it all, Elena schemed from her cell, anonymous notes slipping under my door. Drop it, or Mom pays. She even tried to pin a lesser charge on me, obstruction from the original lie, but the evidence crumbled, her house of cards folding. Sentenced to 15 years, she blew me a kiss from the dock, mouthing, "This isn't over." Controversial? Hell yes. Pundits argued endlessly. Was I justice or just another betrayer, trading one lie for a lifetime of regret? Mom never recovered fully, her diabetes spiking into kidney failure, and on her deathbed 6 months later, she gripped my hand. Forgive her, Will. For me. I nodded, but forgiveness? That's a luxury for the unbroken. Now, 2 years on, I'm back in Tulsa, the flatlands stretching endless under a sky bruised purple. The auto shop's rebuilt. Hargrove's grandson runs it now, with a plaque out front, rising from ashes. I freelance from a tiny bungalow, my designs sharper, my nights quieter. Elena writes from prison, letters laced with venom and veiled pleas. You're free because of me. Remember that. I burn them unread, but sometimes, in the witching hour, I wonder if she's right. Did my revenge heal, or just hollow me further? The twist, the one that keeps therapists in business, is that Jake reached out last week, contrite, claiming sobriety and growth. Wants to make amends. Elena's doing the same, through a medium, no less. Tell her I forgive her manipulations. And me? I sit at family dinners alone now, toasting ghosts with tap water. Perfect, isn't it? The provider's gone, but the bills still due. Who's the villain here? You tell me. The letters started arriving 3 months after sentencing, postmarked from the Federal Correctional Institution in Bryan, the kind of place where the Texas sun beats down on razor wire like God's own hammer. I tossed them in the junk drawer at first, unopened, their crisp envelopes mocking me from between takeout menus and spare keys. But curiosity's a bitch, and one humid evening, with the AC rattling like loose teeth, I slit one open. Elena's handwriting hadn't changed, loopy, girlish script that belied the serpent beneath. Dear Will, it began, all faux warmth. Prison food's worse than mom's meatloaf experiments. But hey, silver linings. Time to reflect. I get it now, why you did what you did. The betrayal stung, but family wounds deepest, right? Jake's been writing too. Says he's changed. Maybe we all have. Bullshit, of course. Attached was a photo, prison-issue Polaroid. Her in khakis and a white tee, hair pulled back, smiling that cheerleader smile. But her eyes? Dead fish in a showroom. I should have shredded it, but instead, I pinned it to the fridge with a cowboy's magnet. A reminder, or maybe a talisman. Life post-revenge wasn't the triumph reel I'd scripted in my head. Austin's scene soured quick. Whispers followed me to gigs. That's the sister who snitched. Freelance dried up, clients ghosting with polite emails about cultural fits. I packed a U-Haul and hightailed it back to Oklahoma, where at least the dirt was honest. The people too jaded to care about scandals unless they involved the Sooners. Tulsa welcomed me like a spurned lover, grudging, with open arms scarred from old fights. I rented a sagging Victorian on Cherry Street, the kind with creaky floors and ghosts that rattled pipes at midnight. Hargrove's grandson, Tommy, hooked me up with design work for the shop, logos, flyers, a website that didn't look like it was built in 1999. He was 25, built like a linebacker with a poet's soul, quoting Bukowski over beers at the local dive. You did right by Gramps, he'd say, clinking bottles. Some fires need stoking to burn out the rot. We didn't date, not exactly. It was more like orbiting, late-night talks on my porch swing, his truck idling while I sketched under the bug zapper's blue hum. He knew the score, had read the headlines, but never pried. Your story's yours, he'd grunt, passing a joint, the smoke curling like unanswered questions. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened, like the weight Elena had strapped to my back was finally fraying at the edges. But freedom's fragile, and Elena had a way of clawing back in. Her next letter arrived with a P.S. Mom's estate, did you settle it? The house in Austin's in both our names. Sell it. Split the cash. For old times. Old times. The phrase slithered under my skin. Mom's will had been a mess, probated slow, the Austin bungalow, that symbol of Elena's provision, tied up in liens from her fraud. I'd paid them off with a loan against my designs, a Hail Mary that left me scraping. Selling? It'd clear the debt, give me breathing room. But letting go felt like surrender. I drove down for the closing, the interstate a hypnosis of billboards hawking casinos and Jesus. The realtor was a perky millennial with a man bun, chattering about upside potential as we toured the empty rooms. Echoes of Mom's laughter in the kitchen, Elena's heels on the hardwood. It hit like vertigo. Papers signed, check in hand, and I was halfway back to Tulsa when my phone buzzed. Jake. His number was blocked, but he'd slithered through on a burner. Willow, please. 5 minutes. Coffee in OKC. I almost hung up, but spite, or masochism, won. We met at a Starbucks off I-35, the kind with velvet ropes and overpriced lattes, him in chinos and a button-down that screamed midlife pivot. Sober, he claimed, eyes clear but shadowed, like a house with the lights on but no one's home. I fucked up, he started, no preamble. With Elena, with you. Therapy's kicking my ass, but I miss you. The real you. Lies wrapped in truth, the oldest con. I sipped my black coffee, bitter as regret, and watched him squirm. What do you want, Jake? Absolution. He leaned in, voice dropping. Information. Elena's reaching out through lawyers. Says you withheld documents from the trial. Evidence that could have lightened her sentence. She's appealing. My laugh was a bark, startling the barista. And you believe her? After everything. But he pressed, showing texts from her attorney. Claims I'd tampered with the flash drive, buried exculpatory emails. It was her flip again, from victim to accuser, scheming from stripes. Help me help her, he pleaded. For closure. I walked out without answering, heart hammering like a jackrabbit's. Closure? That was the myth we all chased, The American dream repackaged as therapy speak. Back in Tulsa, I dove into the boxes from Mom's attic, the ones I'd hauled north like Pandora's luggage. Buried under yellowed tax returns was the original diary. Not the scans, the real leather tome, singed at the edges from my teenage bonfire. Elena's words stared back. Not just confessions, but plans. Willow's soft. She'll take the fall if I spin it right. For family. The appeal hearing was set for virtual, COVID hangovers lingering in court dockets. I could have ignored it, let her rot. But Tommy found me chain-smoking on the porch one dawn, dawn's light bleeding pink over the spires. "What's eating you?" he asked, settling beside me with coffee. Real, from a French press he'd gifted. I spilled it all, the letters, Jake, the diary's ghost. He listened, no judgment, then, burn it again. Or use it. But don't let it use you. Use it. The words ignited something dormant. I hired a PI on contingency. Ex-cop with a mustache like a broom bristle and a grudge against white-collar crooks. He dug, unearthing Elena's prison connections, payoffs to inmates for messages, a burgeoning side hustle in contraband art deals. She'd flipped again, from penitent sister to inmate queenpin, using her marketing savvy to fence sketches smuggled out. And Jake, he was her mule, shuttling funds under the guise of visits. The evidence piled like storm clouds. I compiled it, not for the feds this time, but for her appeal judge. Anonymous drop, time to the hearing. Virtual courtroom, my face pixelated on screen as a witness for clarification. Elena's eyes locked on mine through the feed, widening as the judge read the addendum. New fraud charges, interstate conspiracy. Her lawyer sputtered, but the gavel fell. Appeal denied, sentence enhanced by 5. She wrote after, "You bitch. This is war." But her words trembled, the loops tightening into knots. Jake ghosted, his number dead air. Tommy and I, we crossed that orbit line one night, his hands gentle on my scars, the porch swing creaking under new weight. "You're not her," he murmured, and for once, I believed it. But war? Elena didn't bluff. A week later, my bungalow's brakes failed on a rain-slick curve. Tampered. The mechanic swore, lines cut clean. I walked away with bruises and a bent fender, but the message landed. She'd claw from the grave if needed. Controversial decisions? Mine now. Report it. Risk more eyes on our tangled past? Or play her game. Escalate until one of us broke? I chose the swing vote, the polarizing path. Drove to Brian. Cleared the visitor list. Faced her through plexiglass. "Truce," she asked, voice tinny over the intercom, that smile cracking at the edges. "For Mom." I slid a photo across. Tommy and me, arms linked at the state fair, cotton candy pink as hope. "No. But peace? On my terms." Her eyes narrowed, calculating. "What do you want?" "Everything," I thought. "Nothing. Your half of the house money. Wired today. And a letter, to the judge, admitting it all. No flips." She agreed. Too quick. Red flag. The wire hit my account by nightfall, but the letter? Forged. Her handwriting aping a confession that twisted blame back to me. Willow orchestrated the leaks. Vengeful to the core. It was her masterstroke, the antagonist's final lurch, designed to drag me down with her. The judge saw through it. Ink analysis, a slam dunk. Elena lost privileges, solitary for 6 months. But the damage? It lingered, a stain on my name that Tommy's steady presence couldn't fully scrub. Pundits reignited the debate. Was I the hero holding the line, or the villain perpetuating the cycle? Mom's ghost whispered forgiveness, but revenge's echo is loud, drowning out mercy. In Tulsa's quiet, with autumn leaves carpeting the streets like fallen soldiers, I wonder if the twist was always there, that in seeking justice, I became the mirror of her scheming soul. Perfect, isn't it? The provider's shadow stretches long, even from behind bars. Winter clamped down on Tulsa like a vice, the Arkansas River freezing into jagged teeth that bit at the banks. My bungalow hunkered under a foot of snow, the Victorian's gingerbread trim sagging under icicles like frozen tears. Tommy and I had settled into a rhythm, him wrenching at the shop by day, me holed up with my tablet, designing apps for eco-startups that paid in crypto and hope. Nights were ours. Chili simmering on the stove, his stories of Gramps' wilder days, my sketches of a future unscarred. But Elena's shadow slunk in with the cold, her silence after solitary louder than screams. The first crack came via email, an anonymous tip from a concerned party. Attached, PDFs of my bank statements, the house wire highlighted, captioned blood money. It traced to a burner account, but the IP? Prison Wi-Fi, smuggled through her network. She'd flipped allies again, turning inmates into digital foot soldiers, leaking just enough to spark a civil suit from Hargrove's estate. Tommy found me staring at the screen, face numb as frostbite. "Don't engage," he said, pulling me into his flannel warmth. "She's baiting." But bait's irresistible when it's laced with truth. The suit claimed I'd profited from her crimes. Unjust enrichment, they called it, arguing the house sale was tainted fruit from her fraud tree. Hargrove's family, bless them, stood firm. "Willow's one of us." But the lawyers circled, vultures in pinstripes, deposing me in a fluorescent-lit office that smelled of stale coffee and desperation. "Ms. Reed," the plaintiff's attorney droned, a weasel-faced man with a bow tie, "did you ever suspect your sister's activities? Benefit from them knowingly?" I stared him down, the room spinning slow. "Suspect? I lived them. And benefited? Try buried." The deposition dragged, hours of Elena's engineered doubt. Transcripts twisted to paint me complicit, Jake's affidavit resurfacing like a bad rash, claiming I'd encouraged the affair as payback for old slights. Controversial? The headline screamed it. Revenge sister sues for slice of sin fortune. Social media ignited. Willow versus Elena trending, with camps forming overnight. Team Willow. She exposed a monster. Justice porn. Team Elena. Family destroyer. Betrayal begets betrayal. Mom's deathbed plea haunted me through the blizzards, her frail hand in mine. "Forgive, Will, or it eats you." But forgiveness felt like capitulation, like letting the fire she'd lit consume me whole. Tommy saw the toll, my sketches turning abstract, jagged lines like barbed wire. "Run away with me," he proposed one snowy night, over mulled wine by the fireplace. "Marfa, or Big Sur, anywhere but this ghost town." I wanted to. God, the pull was magnetic. White sands, his laugh echoing off redwoods, a life unyoked. But running? That's what Dad did, what Jake slunk toward. No, this needed ending, a climax to rival her schemes. So I countered with my own flip, outreach to Elena's victims. Not the big fish, the SEC whales, but the small ones, the forgotten. The diner cook Mom had worked with, shorted on investments Elena peddled as sure things. The elderly couple from church, their nest egg vanished into her fintech mirage. I hosted a Zoom support group from my kitchen table, faces pixelated but pain-sharp, stories of evictions, skipped meds, suicides whispered in sidebars. From those ashes, a class action brewed. Not mine, but theirs, with me as quiet catalyst. Lawyers pro bono, fueled by outrage. Elena's appeals? Crushed under the weight of collective fury. She lashed out in a smuggled note, scrawled on toilet paper. "You think you're saving them? You're just like me, using pain for power." The words stung because they echoed my fears, the dark mirror where avenger and antagonist blurred. Spring thawed the river into a muddy rush, carrying debris from upstream sins. The suit against me folded, Hargrove's heirs dropping charges after my testimony, tears in Tommy's eyes as we hugged in the courthouse lot. "You're clear," he said, spinning me under blooming redbuds. But clear? Scars don't fade, they just weather. Jake attempted contact again, a voicemail slurred with relapse. "Elena says hi. Says you're next." I deleted it, blocked the echoes. Then the real twist uncoiled, sly as a cottonmouth in the grass. A letter, not from prison, but hand-delivered, envelope sealed with wax that smelled of lavender, Elena's signature scent. Inside, a key to a safe deposit box in Dallas. No note, just coordinates. Tommy urged caution. Trap, but curiosity, that old fiend, dragged me south. The bank was marble and hush, the box heavy as guilt. Documents spilled out. Mom's real will, hidden, naming Elena sole heir but with a codicil. For Willow, my quiet strength, the truth. Elena confessed the fire to me years ago. I made her promise to make it right. Forgive us both. The room tilted. Mom knew. All those years of provider praise, the blind devotion. It was complicity, a mother's shield for her firstborn's flaws. She'd borne the secret with me, letting me carry the public lie while she whispered absolution in private. Elena's game? Not just revenge, but revelation, forcing me to see the rot ran deeper, familial to the core. I drove home numb, the codicil burning a hole in my glove box. Confrontation brewed, inevitable. I petitioned for a prison visit, face-to-face this time, no glass. Brian loomed under a relentless sun, guards eyeing me like contraband. Elena entered shackled, thinner, her beauty honed to bone china fragility. "You came," she said, no smile, just surprise flickering like a shorted wire. I slid the codicil across the table. "Mom knew. Why hide it?" She leaned back, chains clinking soft. "Because truth's a weapon, Will. Sharper than any leak. I wanted you to feel it, the betrayal's full circle. Mom chose me, always. You were the spare, the fixer. But look at you now, free, loved." Her eyes flicked to my ring finger. Bare, but Tommy's presence loomed unspoken. While I wrought for sins she enabled. It was her finest flip, victim once more, scheming the sympathy angle. But no tears this time. Her gaze held mine, mirror to mirror. "What now?" I asked, voice steady. "War ends." She laughed, low and broken. "Wars evolve. Write to me. Or don't. But know this. I'd do it again. For family." Guards hauled her away, but her words lingered, polarizing as ever. Who was the spider, who the fly? Back in Tulsa, summer's heat wave baked the streets into mirages. Tommy and I planned that escape. Marfa, art walks under vast skies. But the twist? It debated in my gut. Happy ending, with Elena's shadow shrinking? Or tragedy, the cycle unbroken? I wrote her one letter, unsealed, left on the porch for the wind. Forgiven, but not forgotten. Mailed or not, it freed something. Me, maybe. The pundits would argue. Heroic closure or cowardly cop-out. You decide. In America's endless tug-of-war, no one's hands stay clean. Autumn's palette painted Tulsa in fire. Oaks ablaze. The river a ribbon of molten gold snaking through the sprawl. Tommy and I loaded the U-Haul under a harvest moon. Boxes stacked like offerings to a fresh start. Marfa called. Its desert starkness a balm for city-weary souls. Art installations whispering in the wind. Chilly cook-offs where strangers became kin over bowls of spice and story. "No ghosts there," Tommy said, taping shut a box of my sketch pads, his calloused hands gentle. "But ghosts are portable, folded into the creases of your heart." Elena's last communique arrived as we crossed the Red River into Texas Panhandle, a postcard from the commissary. A kitschy cowboy twirling a lasso, her script on the back. "Heard you're running. Smart. But run far, Jake's circling." I crumpled it, tossed it out the window into the scrub, but the words rooted like mesquite. "Jake." The loose end I'd knotted too loose. We settled in Marfa Easy, renting a adobe casita on the outskirts, its walls thick with history, old rancher vibes, a tin roof that sang in rain. Tommy found work restoring vintage trucks for the Chinati Foundation, his welds sparking like stars. I gigged remotely, designing murals for the minimalist galleries, my lines bolder, infused with the landscape's raw edge. Locals welcomed us with potlucks and tall tales of James Dean's fatal curve, no prying questions about scars. For months, it was idle, stargazing from the porch, his head on my lap, Vonnegut dog-eared between us. "This is it," I'd whisper, believing it fierce. But Elena's web was wide, spun from afar. The first sign was subtle, a freelance check bouncing, my client's email terse, background check flagged fraud associations. "Sorry." Then Tommy's boss pulled him aside. "Heard about your girl. Sister in the slammer? We good." Whispers, carried on Wi-Fi winds from Tulsa tabloids to Marfa's tight-knit grapevine. We'd fled, but not far enough in the digital age, where sins go viral eternal. Jake materialized like a bad sequel, rolling into town in a leased Tesla that screamed try-hard redemption. He tracked me to the local co-op, where I was inking a poster for the film festival, surrounded by the scent of soy ink and sage smudge. "Willow," he said, voice pitched low, like we shared secrets still. I didn't drop the stylus, but my hand tightened, black lines bleeding on the paper. "What the hell?" He looked wrecked, hair thinning, eyes pouched from nights chasing tail or tailing us, hard to tell. "Elena's pulling strings. Hired a PI to monitor you. Says it's protection, but she's got plans." Plans. The word chilled, evoking boardroom PowerPoints and prison plots. He slid a USB across the workbench, Her appeals file. Contingencies. If she gets out early, good behavior, maybe a pardon push, she's coming for the house money. Claims you stole it. I snatched it, pulse thundering. And you're the white knight now? After everything. He winced. Genuine or performative, who knew? Therapy will. And AA. I see it now. How I enabled her. Us. Let me help square it. Help. The offer dangled, controversial as a plea deal from the devil. Tommy arrived then, grease-streaked from the garage, his stance a quiet wall between us. Time to go, buddy. Jake slunk out, but not before murmuring, watch your back. She's flipped the board. The USB was a Pandora's drive, Elena's manifestos, typed in block caps, strategies for parole, character witnesses lined up, including a reformed Jake, and a ledger tracing every cent from the house sale, annotated with Willow's cut, extortion. She documented it all, twisting my revenge into her narrative of victimhood. Buried deeper, Mom's codicil, annotated with Elena's margins. Well, new. Complicit. It was her endgame, the ultimate lurch, arming herself for a civil war, where I'd be the aggressor in court. I confronted the mirror that night, Marfa's black sky pressing in, stars and different witnesses. Was this the climax? Another round of leaks, countersuits, dragging Tommy into the muck? Or mercy kill? Reach out, negotiate a final severance? Tommy found me there, chin on my shoulder. Call her bluff. Or call her. I called. Collect from the casita landline, the connection crackling like old vinyl. Elena picked up on the third ring, voice honey over gravel. Sis, Marfa treating you well? Heard it's artsy, your vibe. No preamble, straight to the venom. That money's mine. Mom's will proves it. Drop the counters, or I drag your boy Wonder into depot hell. Tommy's hand on mine grounded me. It's over, Elena. Parole or not, the world's moved on. Keep the ledger. Burn it. Just leave us be. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Then her laugh, that familiar chime laced with ice. Moved on. You started this war well. For what? A clear conscience? Mine's just as stained, thanks to you. The call ended abrupt, dial tone buzzing accusation. Days blurred into watchful peace. Drives to Presidio for tamales. Hikes where the horizon swallowed worries. But Jake's warning nod, and one dawn. With coyotes yipping at the scrub, my phone lit with news. Tech fraudster Elena Reed granted parole. Family ties cited in early release. She was out. 6 months shy of minimum, credits for rehabilitation, and a judge swayed by her tearful testimony. My sister's forgiveness healed me. Forgiveness? The word twisted like a knife in gristle. Pundits exploded, Elena free dividing lines anew. Second chances for all, versus slap on the wrist for the elite. Me? I packed again, not fleeing, but fortifying. Alarms on the casita, a concealed carry permit I'd eyed since Tulsa. She arrived unannounced, a rental Prius purring up our dirt drive at twilight, dust devils dancing in her wake. Dressed in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater, reformed chic, she looked almost human, hair loose, no chains. Tommy met her at the door, arms crossed, but I waved him back. 5 minutes. We sat on the porch, Adirondacks creaking, the desert vast and unforgiving. Will? She started, eyes scanning the horizon like it owed her. I'm changed. Therapy, yoga, real shit. Parole conditions, no contact with victims. But you? Your family. The word dripped manipulation, but her face cracked. Just a fraction, vulnerability, or virtuoso acting. Why now? I asked, voice steady as the Chinati Hills. She leaned forward, elbows on knees. Because the twist, sis? It's not me versus you. It's us versus the lie. Mom knew ya? Pushed me to confess to you that night after the fire. Thought it'd bond us. But you covered instead. We both carried it. Let me make it right. Right. The offer. Split the remaining house equity. Co-sign a sister's foundation for fraud victims. PR gold for her. Penance for me. Controversial as hell. Team up with the serpent? Or slam the door? Risk her unraveling into obsession? Tommy watched from the window. Trust in his eyes a fragile thing. I chose the gut punch. No foundation. But the money, yours. And a letter. To Hargrove, to the others. Real remorse, no flips. She nodded, slow, the schemer yielding, for now. Hugged me goodbye, her perfume cloying his memory. Blood's thick, she whispered, driving off into the purple dusk. Was it happy? Tragic? The ending debates itself in quiet moments. Elena's foundation launched months later. Genuine or grift, who knows? Victims funded, her name scrubbed cleaner. Jake vanished, rumored in rehab upstate. Tommy and I, we built a studio edition, a life woven from desert threads. But at night, when the wind howls like unanswered mail, I wonder, did revenge redeem, or just relocate the rot? Perfect, right? In America's grand, gritty drama, no curtain falls clean. Who's right? Argue it out. I'm just the narrator, scars and all.